Hi, Global Studies. Today's video is on the process for petitioning. So this would be petitioning courses for a lot of students, or in some cases, petitioning special language requirement evidence for my students who are using some kind of evidence that they have of their fluency to clear some or all of their foreign language requirement, as well as students using a high school transcript to try to clear part of their foreign language requirement. So this will be a video kind of walking you through that process. Overview and the big ideas. So this video will cover an overview of the steps that you'll follow to petition a course or other type of credit that is not currently on the major sheet. And you will basically get the chance to see kind of how the whole process works from start to finish. Obviously, first step would be to finish the course with a letter grade, or if you're using some other kind of evidence for the foreign language requirement, getting the transcript sent to UCSB would be something you need to do, or taking the placement test, although most placement tests you will not need to use a special petition, but in some cases you might. Or to complete the fluency exam if you're doing it that way. And then just gather all evidence of your stuff that you will need to support your petition. Mostly this is just for people applying course petitions. So in that case, you're going to gather course syllabi or other things that help somebody who hasn't taken the course kind of see the big picture of what the course was about and how it might connect to the major requirements. I'm then going to show you how to use the resources on our department website to request the petition by the quarterly deadline. I'll say it right now, it's the end of week 7, but we'll also go through the specifics on why that timing is set that way when we get to that part of the slides. And then your final step is basically just to wait patiently for the final College of Letters and Science approval. And then once you receive a confirmation email from them, you can check your major and GE progress check to see the results of your petition and how it's affecting your degree progress. We'll end with some kind of final recap and reminders kinds of things to think about, including some special considerations to be aware of. So I said the multi-step process, we're actually going to start with step 0.5. So this would be checking your major and GE progress check on Gold, just to verify how you want to use the course and to make sure that you're ready to go on petitioning that course. I always recommend anytime you're thinking about your major requirements or something related to them, it's always good just to kind of do a checkup on your major and GE progress check. So a lot of our videos do have this short tutorial. I'll walk you through it one more time. You can skip ahead if you feel like you know how to do this, but there are a few special things to think about with petitions. So you'll go progress on Gold and then click major and GE progress checks. You are going to make sure that you've selected Global Studies as your major. You can obviously run it for other majors too. If you're a double major, you can kind of use the same general process for getting ready to petition things with your other department if you're a double major or a minor. Go ahead, I recommend when you're doing this type of check to check the option to use in progress courses. That way you can see everything that is currently affecting you and helping you towards your major progress and kind of see how a petitioned course might interact with that. And then you'll click run this audit or run this progress check. Key areas to check, I always put the same key areas. Units completed is good to check on. GE completion, always just good to do a double check on that. But really for this, mostly with petitions, you'll be looking at your major requirements areas and this very last section, which will say all credit accepted. This shows all the classes you've taken and gotten credit for. So you are going to want to look here when you're starting to think about petitioning a course, mainly to make sure that the course actually has a final grade on it, because we ideally would like you to not, you can't petition a course until it's showing up in your all credit accepted section, because we won't know what to look at in terms of the course title and the final grade. My people who are trying to petition study abroad courses, you will probably have been told at some point in the process, that it can take a while for the course to show up in that area. So this is just a good way to check to see if you are ready to request that petition. And then that's the version of the tutorial on the right side of the screen. It's got some images, and then as usual, the left side of the screen has kind of the same stuff that we were just talking through in words. So you can pause it, take a look at it step by step as you watch this video if you need to. Why, again, one more time, why I want you to do this is sort of step 0.5 before you get ready to request a petition. This just helps you make really informed decisions about where the course or where your foreign language clearance might really best fit in with the rest of your degree progress. Sometimes people realize they don't actually need to petition a course because they already have enough classes in that area, or maybe you're going to realize if you're a double major that that might change how you want to use your crossover between your two majors. This is just the best way to be aware of what's already going on so that you can see if it makes sense and where it makes sense to ask for that petition in terms of our major requirements compared with what's going on with the rest of your degree requirements. And I know EAP courses do take a long time to show up, so this is a good way for you to verify if they are in and ready to be petitioned. So then the true step one, finish the course, of course, and then you want to save your syllabus, or in the case of foreign language requirement clearance, get your transcript sent to UCSB, or in some cases, some placement test evidence. We'll go through that a little bit more with some detail in a minute. For petitions that involve actual courses that you're taking, here's what you want to think about. You want to finish the course with the letter grade. So, you know, no pass, no pass. We can't use those towards major requirements. Other than courses that were taken during the special circumstances that were allowed in spring 2020. Besides that, if you have a P on a course, even though you passed it, you wouldn't be able to use it for major requirement credit unless it was a spring 2020 course. That does include EAP courses too. So if you did a pass, no pass option, you got the P grade on a spring 2020 EAP course, you can still use that by petition. One thing that you think about is I have step one of this process to finish the course. The one exception for that, we want you to finish the class and have a final grade on it before you request your petition. But if it happens to be that you're doing a class, it is your final quarter, you won't have a letter grade for several weeks more by the time the week 7 deadline for requesting petitions comes around. That's okay, right? Go ahead and petition the course if you are a graduating senior, because we do want to help you notice that and catch that and apply that petition as you get ready to finish the quarter, instead of waiting until after the quarter is done and then you being really nervous about where that petition might fit in. I do recommend you save a syllabus or some other kind of evidence of the course's focus. I know for a lot of study abroad classes in other countries, they don't necessarily have a culture in other universities of always giving out a very carefully designed syllabus. Sometimes it's a lot more informal, but whatever you can save and have an electronic copy of to eventually attach to a form you'll fill out, which I'll show you later. Maybe that's a reading list, right? Just a list of everything that you read. Maybe that's a general course outline, just like what you talked about, what were the topics. Some people have even found they didn't really have a syllabus or a course outline, but they had like a final assignment, right? Maybe a final paper that they wrote, especially like research courses, if it's a really unique course where you were doing some kind of special topic or like independent study research type stuff, where it's not really very obvious from the course title how it connects to the major requirements. That is really helpful for us. Now, I will say, 9 times out of 10, I would even say 99.9999% of the time, we don't end up needing to use that evidence. But if you give us that evidence and then we need it, that's much easier than you not giving us the evidence. And then the College of Letters and Science may have questions about how that class fits in, or I may have questions about how that class fits in with our major requirements. Then I have to chase you down and it slows the process down. So if you can just go ahead and attach whatever you've got, one item that shows me what the class was about, that helps me out a lot. That helps you out a lot. Now, slightly different process for petitions involving foreign language clearance, especially my international students or my native speaking students. This is going to be what probably applies to you. So you want to figure out first what kind of evidence you need to submit. Now, if you're taking a placement test, if you're working with a department that teaches the language that you are fluent in, and they have some kind of process where you take an exam that has a placement test score. This is really common for the Spanish native heritage speaker test, as well as in some cases the Chinese department has a specific placement test for some of its students, depending on your specific situation. In that case, you really don't need to request the extra petition. It will eventually automatically show up in your records. It does not happen immediately in most cases, so you just need to be patient. So in this case, actually a placement test, you don't usually need to apply for a petition. That will happen automatically. The computer systems will connect and your major and GE progress check will usually reflect that. Although you could check, and if it's not, then we can discuss. However, if you were using an option, if you were an international student, for example, who studied in your native language all throughout high school, and you have been given the chance to submit a high school transcript as proof or evidence of your fluency that we can then clear, Then you want to think about submitting that high school transcript and making sure that you've submitted that high school transcript to the Office of Admissions. I will show you more about the correct address to send that to in just a moment. Now the high school transcript is also the thing to think about. I know several of our students take up the option to use, just from a United States high school, 3 or more years of foreign language that you completed in high school with a C or better, to waive the 1 additional year requirement. So if that's the case for you, this applies to you as well. You want to get your high school transcript sent over to UCSB. One thing to keep in mind, and then we'll go into more detail on that later, is unless you came to UCSB as a freshman, you probably don't have a high school transcript on file. If you came here as a transfer, almost certainly you do not have a high school transcript on file, unless you sent one specifically previously. Usually the transfer students have to have their high school send a new copy. We'll go into that a little bit more in a minute. The third option, some people, this is a lot less common now, but there has been in the past a process where students have been able to meet with a UC instructor who teaches their native language and get a signed language fluency waiver. You would know if this is the case for you. If you're not really sure what this is, it probably doesn't apply to you, or you could discuss the option with the undergrad advisor first. It is a pretty rare circumstance. It doesn't really happen for most students. The other thing I might recommend is, if you're not sure about the difference between these ways of proving your fluency in a foreign language, here's a link to our video that will explain it fully. Obviously, you can't click on the link if you're watching the video, but with all of our videos, as usual, you can go down in here I'm pointing down with my arrow. Down in the description box, you can open that up and get a link to this exact slide, and you can look at slide 4 and click on this. Or you can just use the sidebar over here to find the foreign language requirement frequently asked questions video. Now for high school transcripts, whether you're submitting something from an international high school or a foreign high school or a United States high school, they do have to be submitted officially. So you can't just give it to me. You can't just send it by email. You can't show it to somebody as a PDF or an image file on your phone. It's got to be signed and sealed, because we do need to treat it like it's an official part of your records. And then you send that to the Office of Admissions. So the address can be found here. It's going to have some information about how to send transferable credit from other institutions. So this would be other schools besides UCSB. And then down here, you're going to see a nice address that is a solid one, the Office of Admissions. You can use that to have your transcript to make it to the correct place. It does take a long time for things to get submitted, so just be very, very, very patient if you're going to use this process to clear your foreign language using special evidence like this. You just want to make sure you're giving yourself lots of time, because the process does take time. If there's any way you can have your high school submit it electronically, increasingly there are lots of high schools, at least in the United States, that offer that service. That's the best. It's more streamlined. It's a little bit less chance of the stuff getting lost in the mail or stuck in the mail somewhere. If you send it in the mail, it will still eventually make its way to the right place, as long as you put the right address in, but it can take a lot longer. Once it's fully in your records, then we can complete your petitions request. You can submit the request using the process that we'll look at in the rest of this video, but just know that we in the Global Studies office can't fully process your request for this petition until your transcript is all the way into your records. I also recommend for my people who are looking at this option to just, like we said, start with checking your major and GE progress check. Many placement tests are programmed to automatically hop into the right place on your progress check. So no petition request is needed for that. Just know that it can take some time to appear after you complete your test. It won't happen automatically. It won't happen within a day. It usually, give it a week or two to see if it shows up. And if it does, then you do not need to typically submit any additional petitions. The last option with the signed fluency waiver form, you're going to attach that to the petitions request form. You're going to see this later in the slides, or if that is not working for you, the other option is to email it to global-advising@ucsb.edu. Make sure to include your name and perm number so that way we know who you are and how to apply it. Step 2, you're going to use the petitions resources on our Global Studies Undergrad Advising website to make your requests, so that way I get one place where all the requests come in. Don't send your requests by email. That used to be the way that we would do them. If you come, you know, campus is closed currently as of August or September 2020. So you can't really come in person anyways, but once we're back into in-person opportunities to meet, I will also ask that you still submit your petition online. Let's just make sure that everything is organized and that we don't, you know, miss out on the chance for you to request your petition. Make sure it just kind of has all the information in one place. So how you do that, a couple different places you'll look. You're going to visit global.ucsb.edu to the undergrad section. You're going to navigate to the undergrad advising section. So I'm going to show you kind of a quick sample of that. I will say we're making some updates to our website, so it might look slightly different when you are there eventually. Now, right now it says undergraduate programs on the center button, but you're going to just look for one that says undergraduate advising. It'll be generally in the same place. And then here we are on our undergrad advising frequently asked questions section. So the top part is just things about registration. The middle section is about petitioning courses. So it'll say petitions resources you'll use. There's going to be a link to this video, so you can always go back and look at it there. And then there's going to be a document that provides criteria for petitions and overall directions. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. I actually want to open that in a new window. And then there's going to be a form. Now the form is not linked right now, but it will be shortly. So just know that it won't say coming soon anymore. It'll actually have a link to the live form. But you'll see there a section with directions on petitions. So this is going to have a lot of the same thing we're going over in this video, but you know, looking at it here means that you won't have to watch the video again later. This is just kind of the key reminders, along with some of the links that I'm showing you, the email address, the where to send your transcripts, things like that. So I'm going to go back over here, top 3 main resources. We've got the video, we've got the handout, which we opened already, and then we've got the form. I'm going to put that over in a separate tab for a few minutes from now. And then we'll look at some notes on timing. Actually, we'll go do this in a second. So we'll start with the criteria sheet. This criteria sheet is a sort of a one-page document that we put together to help you decide what kinds of courses you can petition for what kinds of requirements, as well as what requirements on our major sheet that really you can't petition anything for. There's a couple things where you do specifically have to complete courses here at UCSB. There are just major requirements that require you to complete a certain number of units and courses using our Global Studies department classes. So quick walk through this. Down on the left side, it's going to tell you like the area on the major sheet that you might be looking at. Keep in mind right now the sheet reflects that there are still 2 different major versions in play, especially if you're a junior or senior. You are still very likely following the 2018 to 2019 requirements. So those look still very slightly different than the updated 2020 to 2021 and beyond requirements. But this will kind of tell you pre-major requirements and early prep for the major requirements. This will kind of tell you what you can and cannot petition. Main thing in the prep for the major, I should say, on the 2018 requirements, there is an option for prep area 3 for students who have been needing more upper division units. There is the upper division substitute courses on this list. I'm going to go ahead and remove the coming soon because it's there now. It is linked in. And then this is just a reminder, you've probably seen this course if you looked at our registration resources website section, but this just gives you some options for things on the major sheet, not on the major sheet, that you can use by petition. So updated every quarter. And then in the prep for the major requirements, there's a couple of things to think about in the early prep areas. This would be mostly for transfer students, particularly transfer students who are not coming from California community colleges. If you're coming from a California community college, you can use assist.org to verify that you've taken something that automatically has transferred, and you'll see that most likely in your major and GE progress check, unless you're a brand new transfer student, in which case it takes a little while for that to fully show up. But this is a really great area to look at if you're thinking about petitioning something, like if you started at a different four-year university, including another UC, even if it's in the UC system, it still could be different. And you want to see about applying some of your transfer credits that won't have gone over automatically because they're not California Community College transfer courses. This is a good way for you to kind of judge whether or not that's an option for you. We've got a couple notes on the two different parts of the foreign language requirement. They're labeled differently depending on what version of the major requirements you're looking at, so just be looking for that. Here's the part that is the quarter 6. Here's the part that is the one additional year. So this is going to give you some suggestions for you to test whether or not your plan for what you want to petition makes sense for that area. Upper division requirements, I would say, besides the foreign language requirement, this is where most people are usually looking at when they're applying course petitions. Area 1, Global 110, 120, 130, these all do have to be taken at UCSB. We need you to take those at UCSB. Area 2, Area 2A courses, in most cases, these also have to be taken at UCSB unless very specifically approved. So, and in most cases, that's just students who come in with prior transfer coursework. That course really does have to be a very exact match for a course that we offer here at UCSB in Global Studies. In most cases, I will ask you to take a syllabus to one of our faculty members just so that they can give you a yes, that's basically exactly what we discuss in our version of that class, or no. Don't otherwise plan to try to take Area 2A course equivalents on a UC-EAP program. We'll pretty much be able to apply those in most cases though to Area B course, 2B courses. So this will be really where you'll be looking if you're looking to petition courses that are upper division. Area 2B and Area 3. So Area 2B courses petitioned in this area must meet the following criteria. 20th and 21st century history focus, so fairly contemporary and modern, basically post-World War II is what we like to say. And as long as it's a social, political, cultural topic, I'm even going to add the word historical, applied to at least 3 or more different regions of the world, not just countries. They have to be actually different regions. So this would be, if you're looking to petition a course, especially from something from study abroad, you want to make sure it's only going to fit in Area 2B if it truly focuses on like comparing and contrasting multiple different regions of the world. Yeah, so you're going to be kind of looking at that. If it really only mentions 1 or 2 regions of the world, it's a better fit for Area 3 courses. So Area 3 courses, same social, same 20th and 21st century history topic, same social, political, cultural, and historical topics idea, but the big difference with this is it's courses that are applied to one, or topics that are applied to one specific region or a country within this region. These are the really common ones that most people come back from study abroad with at least 1, if not more, classes that fit really nicely into this area. You just want to make sure with these ones that it's that 20th and 21st century history focus. I did link in the same document that's over here that we saw with the Prep Area 3, just as a reminder that there are also often options that you can take at UCSB in any given quarter that would be additional Area 2B and Area 3 classes, just so that you know that they're there. Now the how to petition a course section down here is going to have a lot of the same directions, so I'll go over back to our main slides, but just know when you're looking at this elsewhere, or if you pick this up as a handout once campus is open, you can still use this to get the same general directions. So that's helpful. Once you've read through, once you've thought about it, once you have made your plan for how you want to request your petition, you're then going to go to the form that you'll use to make the petition's request. Remember, again, you can find this, it's not officially linked at this exact moment in time, but it is underneath the petition resources section. It will be there soon. And when you open that, it's going to look like this. Now you do have to, very key point, you have to be logged in on your UCSB email account. If this is not working for you, if it's saying you need to request permission, then that's just a sign you need to like log out of all of your personal accounts that you might use with Gmail, and just making sure, like I have up here in my Chrome browser, making sure that you are signing in fully 100% with your school UCSB Gmail account. Reason is this form collects your email address. That makes it easy for me to know, who you are if I need to get back in touch with you. Same directions are going to be up here, very similar to what we're going over in this video, so I'm going to skip that for now. It's going to ask you some basic stuff: perm number, last name, first name, what's your current class level or year. It's going to ask you just to indicate whether or not you're planning on graduating this quarter, yes or no. This helps me if you're putting in kind of a later request. This helps me prioritize my people who are declared for degree candidacy, who have said they're planning on graduating that quarter, and so that I can make sure that your stuff gets included where it needs to be. And then you're going to see the last question on the first page says type of petition I'm requesting. Remember, complete this form multiple times if you have multiple petitions to submit. So if you have multiple courses or multiple things that you're submitting a petition for, you do want to go ahead and do a different version of this form every single time, because they won't always be the same type, and because it is helpful for me to see even if you've got multiple courses you're petitioning in one area, it's helpful for me to see all of them separately, the way the form is set up. Now, what you're going to notice is there's 3 different buttons to choose from here. It basically corresponds to the 3 main situations that you might find yourself in if you're trying to petition stuff as a global major. So the first one is related to the foreign language requirement, not using any study abroad courses. You're trying to get cleared for something related to the foreign language requirement. The second one is you're requesting a petition for a course that you might have taken at UCSB or on a UC EAP study abroad program, or UCDC or UC Sacramento. So basically these will be things that pretty much automatically populate into your all credit accepted eventually, whether they're a UCSB course or something that's coming from a UC related program that connects directly with your UCSB records. So if that's the case for you, you click there. This last option is kind of an option for people particularly who have been taking or who have taken courses that they intend to use for transfer from another college. Mostly are non-California community college people. These would be people where you are bringing these courses on a transcript. They aren't necessarily coming in automatically. Assist.org has no way for them to be approved prior to transfer. Because if you're a California community college student, in most cases your courses will already be automatically articulated, they say, with the classes that work for UCSB. So these would be some other examples of people that this applies to. So other UC campuses, UC Extension, cross-campus enrollment, or non-study abroad, non-UC EAP study abroad programs. Anything where you had to submit a special transcript besides just a basic California community college one. So what happens is you pick one of these buttons and then the form takes you to the place where it will ask you specific questions designed to help you outline what you're requesting. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a fake perm number in. Remember, no spaces, no dashes, all 7 digits. I'm going to put my last name and my first name. I'm going to say in this sample I'm a 4th-year senior. No, I have not planned to graduate in this quarter of summer 2020. And the type of petition I'm requesting, I'm going to say I'm requesting, I'm going to request a petition for a UC EAP course, let's say. So then I'm going to get the UC EAP course petition questions. It's going to ask me to record some basic data about my specific course, title and number, number of quarter units, along with a little note about UC EAP course units. Basically, you'll fill out what applies to you. If you see a little red asterisk, it is a mandatory question. Some of them will be optional. And then you're going to see a place where you can indicate to me where you would like this course applied. Now, for the most part, this will explain everything. If you feel like there's an other category that has not been captured by what's going on up here, you can leave a little other, you click other, and then leave a comment down here, but you have to pick one. And if you're not sure, this is where you go back to that criteria and you take a closer look and you see where it makes the most sense to apply based on the type of course it is, the content of the course. And then optional, if this is your chance to tell me if there's anything extra strange or just helpful that you think I should know about this course as I look at your petition request, this is your place to tell me. And then optional but strongly recommended, again, this is the place where you use this button that says add file to upload something. For most people, it's going to be a course syllabus. For other people, if you're petitioning a course that does not have a syllabus but has some kind of other evidence that talks about what was going on in the class, this is where you're going to upload it for me. You'll then click next, and then there will be some final questions that I'd like you to acknowledge and kind of like confirm that you know. It'll be some reminders about the timing of the petition process and things along those lines. So I'm not going to click through that for now, but you kind of get the idea. Now I want you to notice something. If you realize, oh no, I made the wrong choice and this is like not the right part of the form I need to be filling out. If I click the back, just notice when I click leave, I'm going to have to start all over. So just kind of keep that in mind. Read everything very carefully. Make sure you're selecting the option that makes the most sense for you, and then submit. So that's how that works. Back over here, some notes on timing just really quickly. The deadline for this each quarter, if you fill out the form by the end of week 7, your petition will be processed in the same quarter. If you're graduating senior and the course or whatever, if you're doing a foreign language clearance process, is still being completed in your final quarter, which is the quarter in which you also happen to be petitioning it, please email me. at this email, so that way I have a little extra flag on the request to make it a priority to make sure that it gets processed if possible before the end of that quarter, especially if you're submitting it late. That helps me out a lot. If you do submit it after the end of week 7, just know it will go into next quarter's pile. And again, late submissions will only be accepted in special circumstances. If let me rephrase that. You can always submit it late. If you submit it late, it will be processed in the next quarter's pile. The only exception to that will be if you are a graduating senior that quarter. Please make sure you do submit your petitions request. If you're a graduating senior, even if it's coming in late, it does help me to see what your plan is for that, so that way we can make sure we wrap up your final degree stuff correctly. Step 3, for many people, this is the hard part. Just wait patiently, and then a few things to think about and how to proceed while you wait. So, like we said, once you've submitted your request, by the end of week 7, the undergraduate advisor processes it, typically starting in week 8 of that same quarter or the following quarter. Remember, if you submitted past week 7 and are not a graduating senior. And then after the undergraduate advisor submits the petition, the College of Letters and Science has to look at it and give it a final approval. This is the part where it can take several days to several weeks to see that final confirmation come through. If you are graduating senior that same quarter, it will be processed in time for you to finish your degree. It just won't happen automatically. So if you're getting panicky because you're graduating senior and you submitted a petition request and it's all kind of coming together and you're getting nervous, just know as long as you've submitted everything correctly and as long as you made the request in a way that the class that you're looking at or the foreign language thing that you're looking at, as long as it fits the criteria, you're going to be fine. Very probably you will not have any issues getting that petition approved. It just will take some time, and there's no way to speed up the process, unfortunately. One big thing to notice is on your side of things, it's going to look like nothing has happened other than that you filled in this form on our website. You will not see any change in your major and GE progress check until the college approves it. So even if I, as the major advisor, say, hey, the student wants to use this course and we approve it, you will not actually see any change in that until the college finalizes the approval. At that point, you will get an email notifying you of the approval, and then only at that point will you see a change reflected in your major and GE progress check. So don't get nervous if you're checking it and you haven't seen any changes. That is totally normal. The process can take several days to several weeks. In some cases, I've even had our person in the College of Letters and Science gets kind of backed up with petitions requests and may even take like a month or 2. So in the timing in between, no need to email in checking on your petition. In most cases, there's no way for us to know whether or not the College of Letters and Science is done with it. Just know that if you submitted it by week 7, we put in the credit, we put in the petition request by approval, I should say, by week 8, maybe week 9. So it's in the system. Now you're just waiting on the confirmation email once it's done. Now, I will say if it has been more than one complete entire quarter since you requested the petition, like let's say by the end of week 7 plus 1 quarter, you have not seen any movement on it, then please reach out and we'll see what's up. We'll see if something got stuck somewhere. But otherwise, don't check in if it's only been 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or even a month, because it is probably in the pipeline. You just need to wait. Now, how that affects you schedule-wise, for a lot of people, that makes people nervous because they think, oh, I have to get this approval, I have to get this petition processed and approved before I sign up for next quarter's classes. That's not actually true. As long as you did your research, you looked very carefully at your own major and GE progress check, as long as you followed the directions that were here and the criteria that were listed here and on our website, as long as you are petitioning a course that makes sense for that, you can go ahead and register, assuming it's going to be approved. Just pick your next quarter schedule for your next quarters accordingly, and then eventually that final approval will come through. Now, if you're petitioning a course where it's not really a good fit or the criteria does not really support you being able to use that course, that's where it will get denied. But in most cases, 9 times out of 10, everything gets approved. It just takes a little time for that to happen. So the recap and just some final reminders. Just make sure